Refresh it. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Vanachari Yamuna Deva Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nectar Haribo, 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 Nectar Haribo. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gopramanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, let us sing the song. Nana Shastra Vicharaneka Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. Offer my respectful obeisance unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over three worlds and are worth taking shelter because they absorb in the mood of the gopis and engage in the transcendent loving service of Radha and Krishna. Shri Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Hare Krishna, welcome to Nectar Devotion, chapter 4 and 5. So just to recap important points from the previous lesson, 3 specific, very important points. The only qualification to begin devotional service is the mercy of a devotee who enthuses one with attraction to the Supreme Lord. We heard Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada making the point that attraction is the only qualification required to be attracted to any aspect of Krishna, any service, anything related to Krishna. That is the only qualification. And that attraction is given by the mercy of the pure devotee. The pure devotee, especially the Madhyamadikari, goes out to preach, like Srila Prabhupada, who was an Uttama, acting as a Madhyamadikari to extend his mercy to all living entities and giving his mercy, and that way planting this taste that the souls who came in contact with received, and through the attraction they became more and more engaged in devotional service, more attracted to Krishna. So this attraction is key, which implies that the more we become attracted to Krishna, then the more progress we make. The whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to become attracted to Krishna. We want to increase our attachment and attraction to Krishna so that our affection can flourish more and more. The qualification to advance in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti depends on the maturity of one's knowledge of and faith in scriptures. So these two aspects are very important. One's knowledge of scripture, one's knowledge of Krishna, and one's faith in scripture. The greater your faith means the more seriously you will apply the process. And the more you understand about Krishna, means that relationship will become deeper and deeper. If you want to strengthen your relationship with someone, you develop or strengthen relationship by understanding each other more deeply through knowledge, through service. So knowledge is key. Now, we're not studying Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, to become scholarly, to become scholars, or learn hundreds of verses and we, become very scholarly. No. In essence, if there's one reason we should be studying Nectar of Devotion, which is related to the first point, is simply to please Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said we should study it, so therefore we're studying it. And if we study it, that pleases Srila Prabhupada. And that pleasing of Srila Prabhupada is profound. It is our saving grace. And you'll see this come up through different slides. So very, very important, simply to please the pure devotee. Because by pleasing the pure devotee, yasya prasad, bhagavad prasad. You please the pure devotee, you please Krishna. And the qualification for practicing pure devotional service is liberation from the bodily concept of life, characterized by the realization that one should abandon all desires, especially the desire for liberation. Sayuja bhakti, impersonal liberation, and endeavor only to please Krishna. So in essence, bhakti is very simple. Simply to please Krishna, we act with no motive, no material desires, especially the desire for impersonal liberation. And in chapter 4 and 5, Srila Rupa Goswami focuses these two chapters simply by giving evidences. The whole two chapters are only filled with verses and evidences emphasizing the devotional service surpasses all liberation, and chapter 5, the purity of devotional service. We're not going to cover all the verses that is quoted, so you should have read that already. We'll cover selected verses and emphasize certain points. These two chapters, 4 and 5, lead us to the conclusion, two conclusions of pure devotional service. Bhakti, pure devotional service, prema bhakti, is totally independent and self-sufficient. Very important. Bhakti is totally independent and self-sufficient. And why is this relevant and important for us? Why is Srila Rupa Goswami emphasizing, he's dedicating one whole chapter to the fact that devotional service surpasses liberation? He could have given us one verse. He could have made one statement. In fact, he made a statement in the previous chapter. So we got it. No, we didn't get it. He wants to give one verse after another verse, after another verse, after another verse, after another verse, until you get it. And even then, many people don't get it. And then chapter 5, he dedicates one full chapter, or at least Srila Prabhupada in the Nectar of Devotion, in the summary study also dedicates one full chapter for the purity of devotional service, so that we become inspired and really understand and appreciate what we've got. the opportunity that we have. So bhakti is totally independent and self-sufficient. Why is that key? Why is that important on a practical level for us conditioned souls? Yes. Okay, so that we don't get distracted. Good. Yes, because there are many things we can get distracted in this world. And why would people get distracted, or why would people do something else? That's true, but why would they go for something else? That's true, but why would they go for something else? Because they think that what they got is not sufficient. Bhakti is not going to give me what I got or what I want. Therefore, I need to go to other avenues. Okay. It will distract your attention. Yeah, it'll water down the emphasis that bhakti is totally independent. It's not dependent on any aspect or any limb that is there in the other parts of the Vedas. It's not dependent on any factor, any feature of this material world. It is totally, totally independent. There is no dependence. And not only is there no dependence, bhakti is self-sufficient. Bhakti doesn't need something else or someone else to provide. Bhakti is totally self-sufficient. So our life in the conditional state is totally dependent. Our life in the conditional state is totally dependent. We are in the material world dependent on many things. And because we are dependent, then the variables influences change in the dependent. Because we are dependent, if things that we depend on change, if those variables change, then that's going to impact us. Okay, so consider, we want security. We want peace of mind. We want happiness. We want many things, and we need many things. And for these things, security, happiness, peace, prosperity, nourishment, we are dependent on many factors within this material world. And all the factors within the material world, they change, and they transient, and they're fallible. And because they're fallible, because they will change, because they are limited, and we dependent on those things, that means what we want from them is also temporary, fallible, and limited. So the security that we're going to get, the happiness we're going to get, the shelter we're going to get, the prosperity we're going to get is all fallible. It's really like the scriptures, like a mirage. Or we're trying to grab the shadow. Now, in the shadow, it looks like the real thing, but there's absolutely no substance in that shadow. So these chapters are trying to encourage us, rather than try to focus on the material world and everything related to the material world, focus on pure devotional service. Because if you focus on pure devotional service and you depend on pure devotional service, then we can ask the question, is pure devotional service dependent on anything else? No. That means because pure devotional service not depend on anything else, and if I depend on pure devotional service, I will never be betrayed. I will never, be in a situation that I will be disappointed. And because pure devotional service is self-sufficient, I know that whatever I want, pure devotional service can provide. every aspect of my personality, of my being, whatever I want and whatever I need, I can get from pure devotional service, because pure devotional service is completely self-sufficient. If I need prosperity, I need shelter, I need wisdom, I need happiness, whatever you want. Ultimately, pure devotional service is not here to give you what you want. Pure devotional service is there to give you what you need. It's really your constitutional position. It's what you really need. Which, yeah, well, he simply chants Hare Krishna and everything's provided. So he had firm faith that simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, simply by devotional service, everything's provided. Naturally, in the beginning stages, we don't have that firm faith. But we should have faith in the scripture. And that faith in the scripture should allow us to continue on this path. Okay? Like we mentioned last week or the week before, that the more you know the reason of why we should take shelter of devotional service, the more you'll endure on this path and not be swayed away from the path. In fact, it should become greater, and with great and great enthusiasm, we should become convinced and take more shelter of pure devotional service. Yes, Sanjay.
So let's speak about this pure devotional service, external activities.
Yes.
Those external activities mean that you take with people to that place, and those experiences can bring you frustration. People can hate you. You can get some negative aspects of it. Now, when you say that it is what you need, so you experience that in your life, negativity, frustration, loneliness, what is that what you say we should need and accept?
So the experience that you getting in the neophyte stage is not what is the result of pure devotional service. That's why we're going to come to this chapter 4. Devotional service surpasses all liberation. So really, pure devotional service starts after liberation, not before. And what you experience before is a result of mixed bhakti, or it's a result of the conditioned souls and you're not completely pure. Therefore, it will impact you in different ways. Right? But the more you surrender to pure devotional service and you now transcend the bodily concept of life, or you overcome all your narratives through the purification process, then the external variables will not impact you, because now you'll be more fixed in pure devotional service. And someone who's fixed in pure devotional service, you will find that the external environment will not impact them at all. Someone who's not fixed in pure devotional service, even the slightest things will disturb them, because you are impacted by the modes, 3 modes of material nature. Pure devotional service is beyond the modes, and someone who's fixed in pure devotional service is beyond the modes. They'll not be affected by the modes of material nature. So if we are impacted, we should understand we're not on the transcendental plane. And that means we should continue practicing. The example is given, right? I'm dirty. I played in the mud and there's dust everywhere and I'm covered with dust, and I'll go into the shower. So when I start showering and I see all the dirt, I get scared, I come out of the shower. No, I don't do that. When I shower and I see the dirt, what do I do? I keep showering. I continue to shower. And the dirt will be cleansed more and more, and eventually there will be no dirt. So like that, if the dirt surfaces, I don't become disturbed. I keep focus on the goal, on the objective. Now, many people, they have these 4 goals, especially those come from India, from the East. They understand these 4 goals, purusharthas, 4 human goals. Unfortunately, they have it a little wrong. So they have the 4 goals, which is correct. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. But the sequence is not right. If you see this one, where does it start? Starts with Artha, then Kama, then Dharma, and then Moksha. That's not the correct sequence. This one, okay, depending where they start, but you'll see even the sequence. If it's Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha, it's the wrong sequence. First, Dharma is there. You need religious principles. Once you have religious principles as the foundation, based on those religious principles, then you can acquire wealth, Artha. So Dharma is first, then you acquire the wealth in a dharmic way, in a religious way. And through that dharmic result, by following Dharma and acquiring wealth according to dharmic principles, then you have the facility for satisfying your senses according to the Vedas. And after you have satisfied your senses and realize that this is really not the goal, my senses will never be satiated, I think I need to achieve a higher state of liberation, then you achieve a liberated stage. So they definitely don't have the 4 arthas in proper sequence. The second thing that they generally are totally deviated, or they deviate totally from the Vedic understanding, is this liberation is not the Buddhist type of liberation of impersonal liberation, moksha, merging with the existence of God. That's what many people think, that liberation means to merge with God, to become one with God. Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita makes it very clear. Liberation means to understand the identity of the living entity. That Jiva Sarupoi Krishna Nitya Das. That's liberation. And to act in that liberated stage. Because liberation means you liberated from something so that you can be liberated to something. Consider somebody is imprisoned. So they desire liberation. So they want to be liberated from the prison to freedom. Now consider a thief who is now sentenced, say 5 years in prison, and he wants to become liberated from that imprisoned life. So he has to live his sentence 5 years, and now he's free. So he walks out of the prison cell, comes to the border of the prison, and stands right in the middle of the prison gate. And he says, I'm free. I'm liberated. So is he liberated from the prison cell? Yes, he's not in the prison cell. He's free. But is he liberated to freedom? No, because he's in between freedom and liberation. So in between freedom and liberation it's not really liberation. Impersonal liberation, Sayuja Mukti, merging with impersonal Brahman, is not liberation. It's the borderline. It's the middle of the spiritual and material worlds. Even though it's within the spiritual realm, it's really not true freedom. True freedom means devotional service. Bondage means material life. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the true Purushartha, the true goal of human life. These are some of the 4 aims or goals of human life, but the true aim of human life is Prema Pumartha Mahan. That's the greatest, highest goal, love of Krishna. To achieve love, that is the highest perfection of human life. So we should strive for that. Anyone who strives for pure love of Krishna, they are said to be the best amongst all human beings, and they've understood the highest goal of human life. And that was given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now we're going to go through the different verses in the chapter, and each verse would highlight specific aspects of great devotees who are on this path of pure devotional service, the characteristics, the qualities that they have. So they aspire to reject all desires for bhakti and mukti. Bhakti means sense enjoyment. Bhakti means impersonal liberation. And these two aspects are called witches, two witches that haunt us. Prabhupada says all previous instructions imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statements can be summarized thus: as long as one is materially inclined or desirous of merging into the spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of devotional service. So you can't have both. You can't have material life and spiritual life. You can't have material desires and pure devotional service. Prabhupada says, sense gratification and spiritual life go ill together, like oil and water. They don't mix. And we gave the example of trying to cross a river with two boats. Just cannot happen. You can't, you put one leg in one boat, another leg in another boat, and you try to cross. You just cannot. It's either you go in one boat or the other. You can't go in both. So it's either you in material existence or you in spiritual existence. You cannot have both. The beauty of spiritual existence is that everything that people desire in material life, you can actually get that in spiritual life. Whereas everything that people desire in spiritual life, you can't get that in material life. Right? Consider this mango tree. Everybody desires what to do with the mango? To eat it. Okay? So we have two options. There's the mango on the tree, and there's the reflection in the water. Choose. Naturally, those who are intelligent are going to take the tree. Okay? But majority of the people in this material world, 99.99999%, they're all diving for the shadow. And if you dive for the reflection, for the shadow, there's only one result: frustration. Your desire is not going to go away, but you will get frustrated more and more and more. And that frustration will lead to more frustration, which leads to suicide. And eventually they'll say, okay, forget everything. Let me just merge and let me just become one with God. Because that's an aspect of frustration, not knowledge. So why don't devotees opt for liberation? Opportunity to hear. How much a devotee is seriously attached to the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the statement of Maharaj Prithu Adiraj, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 20th chapter, verse 24. He prays to the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus: my dear Lord, if after taking liberation, I have no chance of hearing the glories of your Lordship, glories chanted by pure devotees from the core of their hearts in praise of your lotus feet, and if I have no chance for this honey of transcendental bliss, then I shall never ask for liberation or this so-called spiritual emancipation. I shall simply always pray unto your Lordship that you may give me millions of tongues and millions of ears so that I can constantly chant and hear your transcendental glories. So the pure devotees, they don't want impersonal liberation. They don't want any liberation. They don't want any of the 5 types of liberation if those 5 types of liberation is going to keep them away from glorifying and hearing the glories of Krishna. They would rather embrace hearing and glorifying the Lord than any of the 5 types of liberation, especially Sayujya Mukti. And Srila Prabhupada starts off this paragraph by saying how much a devotee seriously attached to devotional service of the Supreme Personality of God can be understood from this statement of Maharaj Prithu, which implies that the more serious you are about devotional service to Krishna, the more serious you will want to hear and chant the glories of Krishna. They go in hand in proportionate ratio. The more you become attached to hearing and chanting, the more you become serious. The more you are serious, the more you want to hear. If you're not serious about devotional service, you're not serious about hearing and chanting. Okay, your hearing and chanting fuels your desire to serve. And your desire desire to serve fuels your desire to hear about the glories of Krishna. Question. Planet. Yes.
Is that not a selfish
Desire.
desire?
So there are those that specifically desire to be in the same planet of Krishna. There are those that actually desire to have the form of Krishna. Consider Pondrak Krishna Vasudev from Krishna book. He desired to have the same form of Krishna, and as a demon, he had the same form of Krishna. See? And then he challenged Krishna that you stole my weapons. You have a cheek to steal my weapons. I'm the true God, Supreme Lord. You stole my weapons, give my weapons back. So Krishna said, sure, yeah. Handed the Sudarshan Chakra to him and sorted him out. See? So there are those that desire to have the form of Krishna. But that desire has got nothing to do with pleasing Krishna. There are those that want to be near God, not interested in pleasing Krishna. So the pure devotees, they'll tell Krishna, and there's many verses we read in this chapter. My Lord, if you want me to accept any of the liberation, especially the four Vaishnava liberation is there, okay, like to be on the same planet, to have the same form, same opulence, I'm happy to accept it as long as I can serve you. Otherwise, it's a waste. Yeah, you can give me all the opulence of the universe. It's really useless if I cannot serve you. Okay, and there are those that really just desire that type of liberation separately from the pleasure of Krishna, and that's really not the best. Yeah, it's not the best. And then Prabhupada says, in other words, unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot relish the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. So really we want to become free from our narratives. We want to become liberated from the bodily concept of life. The more you become free from the bodily concept of life, the greater the relish and the understanding of Supreme Lord will be. It's not like in the beginning I can hear and chant and I'll have great taste. No. In the beginning, I follow the order of the spiritual master. I have faith in the instruction. It's not like I'm in total bliss. There will be many inconveniences, many challenges, and I may not even have great taste. But I do have firm faith that if I stick to hearing and chanting, I will get purified, and the byproduct, as we said, will be bliss. As devotees, we don't strive for bliss. Bliss is a secondary result that comes simply by serving Krishna. And we gave the example of the fish. The fish, if the fish separately strives to be happy, it can be put in situations that are totally miserable. But if you simply put the fish in water, then that's automatically a natural state for the fish, and the fish will become happy just by being in the natural state. Correct. If I go to hell, I go to heaven, I go to anywhere. As long as I'm engaged in devotional service, I know I'm sheltered, I'm protected. I'll be happy because I'm in my natural situation. The power to liberate. Pure devotional service is extremely powerful. And these chapters are revealing the power of devotional service, the glory of devotional service, the elevated position, the super excellent position, a position that no other process can overcome or can beat, can excel pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is the ultimate process, is the ultimate potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in 1974 in Chicago Rath Yatra, the devotees had Rath Yatra, and it was a wonderful Rath Yatra. Prabhupada attended the Rath Yatra. They distributed a lot of prasadam, and they had a wonderful festival. Then in the afternoon, the devotees gathered in an apartment with Srila Prabhupada, and all the parents of the devotees. So all the parents were there, and they were asking different questions to Srila Prabhupada. And one specific question that was asked, which was very enlivening, and the response also was very enlivening. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, what will happen to the parents of your disciples? What will happen to the parents of your disciples? Because who's practicing the process of bhakti? The disciples. Right? And some parents, they really didn't like their children, their children to join, but others, okay, no problem, this is what will make you happy, no problem. Others were very happy. So this question was asked, what will happen to the parents of your disciples? And Prabhupada's response was, Prabhupada leaned back and very confidently just waved his hand and said that parents of my disciples are already liberated. So that's very deep. And only Prabhupada could foresee the result of that. Consider Dhruva Maharaj's mother. She just told Dhruva Maharaj, if you want an answer to your solution, go find God. He's the only one that can help you. The people say he's in a forest. That's all. And because of that, she went back to Godhead. That's the power of devotional service. So we should not underestimate the potency, the benefit, the ramification. If the parents of the disciples are liberated, then what about the disciples who are actually practicing devotional service and are totally dedicated to pleasing Prabhupada? It's inconceivable. Inconceivable.
The parents also do service to.
Correct. Yeah, just by naturally, they grew up, they brought them up, so they get the benefit. Right? They definitely get the benefit. So it's not like they didn't do anything. Yeah, just the fact that they're sacrificing their children. That's a sacrifice. Krishna notices that. The pure devotee notices that. Okay? So it's not in isolation. It's not in isolation. They get the result of that.
I was just thinking, Prabhupada didn't make up that on top either, but in case somebody thinks like that, because when Prahlad Maharaj had the exchange with Lord Nishingadev, and Lord Nishingadev asked him to ask for a boon, and he said, no, he's not a businessman. So then he coerced him to ask for something, and he asked for the liberation of his father. And at that time, Lord Nishingadev said that 21 generations.
Correct. He was already liberated. Yeah. So the pure devotee, just by the pure devotee being in a family, the family gets the benefit. That's the power. Giving up all material comforts. A similar statement is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 14th chapter, verse 44. Sukadeva Goswami addresses Parikshit Maharaj there and says, the great soul King Bharat was so much attached to the service of the lotus feet of Krishna that he very easily gave up his lordship over the earthly planet and his affection for his children, society, friends, royal opulence, and beautiful wife. He was so very, very lucky that the goddess of fortune was pleased to offer him all kinds of material concessions, but he never accepted any of these material opulences. So what to talk about liberation? Even if all opulence is provided, the devotee is not interested if it separates him from service to Krishna. He does not take shelter in the opulence. He takes shelter in devotional service. That is the greatest of all opulences. Even though one may be a pauper, one may be like Sudama Vipra, one may be like Kolavicha Shidar, their shelter is pure devotional service. Their shelter is the lotus feet of Krishna. That's the greatest shelter.
When Bali Maharaj asked Vamanadev, why did he 3 steps of land that I could give you more?
His reply was, if you're not satisfied with 3 steps, you will not be satisfied with anything. Okay, so devotional service will satisfy one. It may not satiate one, it'll satisfy you. But it won't satiate you because there's no limit to satiation. But it'll satisfy you. It's what you really need. Whereas material life, you will not get satisfaction and you won't get satiated. You'll be hankering and hankering and hankering. And the converse of hankering is lamenting. So you're hankering for something, but you can't get it, therefore you lament. So hankering and lamentation is the nature of the material world. But pure devotional service is really, the soul is yearning for that. The soul is crying for that. Unfortunately, the material world is designed to brainwash everyone. That pure devotional service is not what you need. Only desire the association of the Lord and a transcendental service eternally. In Bhagavatam, 6 Canto, 11 chapter, verse 25, there is a similar statement by Vitrasura, who addresses the Lord as follows. My dear Lord, by leaving your transcendental service, I may be promoted to the planet called Dhruvaloka, the pole star, or I may gain lordship over all the planetary systems of the universe. But I do not aspire to this, nor do I wish the mystic perfections of yoga practice, nor do I aspire to spiritual emancipation. All I wish for, my Lord, is your association and transcendental service eternally. So whether it's dominion over all the universes, planets, whether it's getting all the perfections of mystic yoga, or spiritual emancipation, the pure devotee is not interested in these things because it's separated from the association and service of the Lord. So the desire, we can see all these devotees, they're giving us a clue. What should be our desire? What should be our motive? What should we want? And it's not like 101 things. All we want is service to Krishna. That's all. And that service to Krishna is about pleasing Krishna. Wonderful statement, actual self-interest. There is a similar statement by Indra, the king of heaven, in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6 Canto, 18th chapter, verse 74. There Indra addresses Mother Diti in this manner. My dear mother, persons who have given up all kinds of desire and are simply engaged in devotional service to the Lord know what is their actual self-interest. Such persons are actually serving their self-interest and are considered first-class experts in the matter of advancing to the perfectional stage of life. Okay? So everybody thinks they know what their self-interest is. They think they know what's best for them. But really, nobody knows what's best for them. And Rupa Goswami in the Acharyas, Prabhupada is revealing what is our true self-interest, what is really good for us. And what's good for us? Simply to take shelter of the Supreme Lord in devotional service. This is what's best. And such a person is first class. It's considered intelligent, first class. Story of the wrong bank account. There was a gentleman, he was going every day, working very hard, and people accumulate a lot of, in fact, they accumulate their retirement package, right? So you work hard and you're waiting to accumulate and retire at 65. Prabhupada said, this is a little foolish, because if you deposit all your cash waiting to retire at 65, you won't have any good senses to enjoy. You may not have any teeth left. You can't hear properly. Right? You're blind. You got aches and pains. So all your money in the bank is not really going to help you, because you really don't have proper senses to enjoy. But this gentleman was going every day and depositing his money very dutifully, working extremely hard, and going every day, every week or every month to the bank, depositing his salary. And finally, the day came when he retired and he was now going to withdraw his hard-earned money. So he goes to the bank teller and he says, I'd like to draw my cash. Can I have your bank account, sir? Give the bank account. Your name, sir. Gave the name. And she types, I'm sorry, sir, but you don't have any money in your bank account, sir. What do you mean? Every month I've been depositing. Here's all my deposit slips. I'm very sorry, sir, but you've been depositing the money in the wrong bank account. You can imagine, you got a heart attack right there. Right? And that's what we're doing. We're working very hard, but we're depositing our energy, our money, our resources, our intellect, everything, our vitality in the wrong bank account. We should understand the right bank account is pure devotional service. The wrong bank account is everybody else's service in the material world. So we have to understand what is the real self-interest. Pleasing the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. In the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 25, Maharaj Prahlad says, my dear friends, born of atheistic families, if you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. My dear friends, born of atheistic family, if you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then there is nothing more rare in this world. In other words, if the Supreme Lord Krishna is pleased with you, then any desire you may have within the core of your heart can be fulfilled without any doubt. As such, what is the use of elevating yourself by the results of fruitive activities? If you can get all your desires fulfilled by simply serving and pleasing Krishna, one person who can fulfill all your desires, then it's no use trying to please everybody else or trying to perform all different activities which are there in the Vedas. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, all the different types of worships. If we can simply please Krishna and get all our desires fulfilled. So Prahlad Maharaj is making a very wonderful point, and he's saying that this ability, this desire, this activity of pleasing Krishna is very rare. Why? Because most people are envious. They don't like Krishna to be pleased. Who do they like to be pleased? Themselves. Yeah, their senses. Their conditioned self. They want to be satisfied. And the challenge is, consider, right? Everyone in this material world is coming to this material world because everybody wants to get their senses satisfied. So now there's really competition with everyone fighting for their senses to be satisfied. There's really no victory in this world. But simply putting Krishna in the center, that is perfection. And if you do that, then automatically all the desires will be fulfilled. Everything you need will be provided for. Yes.
So when you say that all your desires will be met, right? Obviously, we've reached a stage for the material desires. If you really want to desire to keep on pleasing Krishna and serving Krishna, what desires would you want? Because you say that any desire you make, so you're really desiring, you are doing the service of Krishna.
So consider, okay, so there's a few things. So let's consider Dhruva Maharaj. So initially when Dhruva Maharaj started his journey, he had a material desire, right? But who did he go please? Krishna. And what happened to his desire? What happened to his desire? It got fulfilled. Right? Krishna gave him Dhruvaloka. So his desire got fulfilled. Then he went to Dhruvaloka. He got his realization when he saw the Supreme Lord. He got his realization that I was looking for broken pieces of glass and I receive a diamond. How foolish was I? But anyway, the Lord told me to rule. So I'll do that as a service. So then he went and he started engaging in ruling as a service. And by doing that, okay, now he's the ruler. So he can get as many devotees as he wants. He can have satsang, he can have prasadam distribution, he can have kirtan. Nobody's going to tell him no. So he takes advantage of that. And by doing that, he becomes completely purified. And as he becomes purified, it's not that he has no desires. Now he has spiritual desires. And those spiritual desires is, my Lord, how can I please you? So let me give you a practical example. In Krishna consciousness, what activities do you think pleases Krishna the most? The most. Bringing other souls to him. Right? Now you can do that in many ways, by chanting yourself, by distributing books. All those activities are based on a desire. I want to please Krishna. Therefore, let me do these activities because they please Krishna. Okay, so it's not separate from spiritual desires. And then the higher you elevate yourself, now from a practical level of Krishna consciousness, as you go beyond anartha nivritti, nishta, ruchi, ashakti, at the stage of bhava, now your identity is revealed. So now your spiritual desires will be based on that identity to serve Krishna. See? So it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. The spiritual desires become more in tune with your nature. It starts off material, but you know that those are not ideal desires. They distract one. But still, if you got material desires, rather approach Krishna. Akama sarva kama vaka, moksha kama udarati. Whether you have all desires, no desires, material desires, doesn't matter. Whatever you desire, go to Krishna. He'll purify you. He'll help you. See? And then our conviction to know that this is the ultimate goal. I want to revive my eternal relationship with Krishna, because that will please Krishna the most. Is that okay? Simply meant for offering everything. Any questions online? The purport of the statement by Indra is that beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no living entities are meant for enjoying material opulence. No living entities are meant for enjoying material opulence. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor, the Personality of Godhead. By doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. Material psychology does not fit into this. How is it that if I got a cake and I offer that cake to Krishna for his pleasure, I get the benefit of enjoying the cake? It just doesn't work. Materially means if I got a cake and I want to enjoy, I have to eat the cake. Spiritually, it says no. If you want to enjoy the cake, you offer it to Krishna. And Krishna may do two things. I normally give the example. Let's say you're doing an offering. You're a sincere soul. You're a sincere devotee. So you put the offering. Let's take the same cake. And since you don't have anybody to bake the cake for you on your birthday, you baked your own birthday cake. So there you baked your birthday cake. And now you have to offer it. So you go to the altar and you offer it to Krishna. And now you start offering the cake. My dear Lord, please accept this cake. My friends are coming. Please accept this cake for your pleasure. And you ring the bell. And while you ring the bell, Krishna comes and he eats the cake. The cake's gone. The cake's finished. How are you going to feel? You don't have a cake. Your friends are coming. There is no cake. How are you going to feel? See, it's interesting. You'll be blissful, right? I mean, even though I don't have a cake, but you'll be in ecstasy. In fact, you'll be in so much ecstasy when your friends come, they'll think you're possessed. What's wrong with you? Right? You'll be completely in ecstasy. You may not even know what to say. And they'll have to try, what's happening with you? Because for Krishna to eat that cake meant there was the sentiments of devotion that Krishna loved or loves to eat. Krishna cannot resist the devotion. Krishna is not interested in cake flour. He doesn't want any type of flour, gluten-free or no free. He's not interested in cake flour. Right? He doesn't have a connection with Cisco. He's not interested in them. He's interested in the devotion. You can make a cake minus the devotion. Krishna is not going to accept it. He wants the sentiments of love, of wanting to please. That devotional attributes have to be there. But if Krishna eats that cake, you'll be in ecstasy. So even though you wanted a cake and there is no cake, you're in bliss. Because you're pleasing Krishna. And that's the point. They are simply meant for offering everything to the Supreme Proprietor. Everything is meant for the Master. The servant is satisfied with all the needs provided by the Master when he uses all the resources for the Master. You know the story we like to give about the maid servant. She was busy cleaning the Master's house, and the Master went to work, and she goes into the bedroom. She's busy cleaning, and she looks at the special posturpedic bed, double size, and she sits on it. First time, I never tried before. Let me just try. She sits on it, tests it out. Nice and spongy. It's like unique, man. It's like special flavor. This, let me just feel, how it's like to lie down. So she lies down on the bed to see how this is like. Oh, this is nice and cozy. This is fantastic, man. Before you know it, she's out for the count. Fast asleep. That's how powerful the bed was. Evening comes, the boss comes home. Opens the door, comes in, and doesn't find the maid anywhere. Anyway, goes up to the room and gets a shock. He wasn't like the three bears, who's sleeping in my bed. No, he was furious. He was so angry. How can you, grab the, what happened here? And took his belt out and started to beat her. How dare you sleep on my bed? And he's beating her. Boss, sorry. And she's getting beaten. And she's crying, sorry, getting beaten. After a while, she starts to laugh. He's beating and she's laughing. Then he stops. Why are you laughing? I'm beating you and you're laughing. He says, boss, you started beating me, I was crying, and I was understanding why you're beating me because I was enjoying this bed. That's why I was getting beaten. Then I started laughing, thinking if I got beaten just for enjoying the bed for a few hours, I was wondering what beating you're going to get for enjoying the bed every single day. So that's why I was laughing, that you're going to be getting more punishment, more beating, because you're enjoying the bed more than me. So like that, if we enjoy the property of Krishna, Maya will give us a beating. No one can escape. Even though sense gratification is there in spiritual life, Prabhupada said the only sense gratification we have is prasadam. See? So the senses are satisfied. But the best way to satisfy the senses is with Mahaprasadam. Offer everything to Krishna and then take that as remnants. That's prasadam. If you enjoy it separately, that is detrimental to one's spiritual life. By doing so, they automatically enjoy the benefit. The example can be cited again of the different parts of the body collecting foodstuffs and cooking them so that ultimately a meal may be offered to the stomach. After it has gone to the stomach, all the parts of the body equally enjoy the benefit of the meal. So similarly, everyone's duty is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And then automatically, everyone becomes satisfied. People don't get that. This is the secret formula. Everybody, we got a secret formula for happiness, secret formula for success, secret formula for perfection. Nope, this is the secret formula. Everyone's duty is simply to satisfy the Supreme Lord, and automatically they will become satisfied. And Prabhupada often quotes this example of the hands and the bodily parts. They cannot enjoy the objects of senses separately. They have to offer it to the stomach. And once they offer it to the stomach and the stomach satisfied, then that gets distributed to all the other parts. Servant to master. There's a very well-known verse spoken by Hanuman in which he says, "My dear Lord, if you like, you can give me salvation from this material existence, or the privilege of merging into your existence. But I do not wish any of these things. I do not want anything which diminishes my relationship with you as servant to master, even after liberation." So Hanuman is sharing with us the sentiments of a pure devotee. Give me anything you want as long as it doesn't diminish our relationship servant to master. I'll accept any situation. If I can serve you and continue to serve you and increase that service, I'm happy. And we see Hanuman, his quality, we shared, I think it was in Nectar Devotion or maybe Nectar of Instruction, we shared this point about Hanuman. That Hanuman has unlimited desires to serve the Lord in every different capacity. Whenever there's an opportunity, Hanuman was there to serve. And Hanuman engaged in hundreds and hundreds of activities. And every single activity, it was always for the service of the Lord and for his servants. There was never a time when Hanuman did something for himself. To say, okay, I can do this activity because I'm going to get something for me. He never placed himself in the picture. It was always for others, for the servants of the Lord, and for the Lord himself. And this is the special characteristic of Hanuman. And that's why the past time when the Lord, when Hanuman came to Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Ramachandra was busy writing all the names of the devotees in his special book. And Hanuman asked Lord Ramachandra, "My Lord, what are you doing?" So, "I'm writing all the special, it's very special devotees of mine. I'm writing them in this special book." So Hanuman was thinking, definitely I'm number one. "My Lord, can I see the names?" "Sure." Hanuman starts to go through the front of the book, turns and looks at the first names. It's not his name there. Goes through the book. His name is nowhere in the book. "My Lord, my name is not here." And the Lord said, no, your name is not in this book. Your name is in a separate book. And in that separate book, the Lord showed him, opened the book, and in that separate book, there was only one name. That was Hanuman. Because he was a special devotee. His attitude to serve is super excellent. Yes.
So in Hanuman's pastimes, he always wants to serve Ram. He did not have desire to serve Krishna himself, right? And what does it can people serve other incarnations of Krishna? I mean, is that possible?
So when Hanuman is serving Lord Ramachandra, he's not thinking Krishna and Rama separate. For him, Lord Ramachandra is the sum and bonum, the sum and substance of all incarnations. For him, his worshipable Lord is Lord Ramachandra. His heart is sold out to Lord Ramachandra. So it's not like he has to think, okay, I need to serve Krishna and Lord Ram. No, Krishna is my Lord, Lord Ram. And my Lord Ram is Krishna. Therefore, his focus is always on Lord Ram. That's his relationship. In fact, Hanuman comes as Murari Gupta during Lord Chaitanya's Leela to serve Krishna as Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Murari Gupta that actually you should chant the names of Krishna. And when Murari got that instruction, he could not sleep the whole night because the name of Krishna does not come on his tongue. Only the name of Lord Ram comes on his tongue. So he was heartbroken that he could not follow the instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next morning, he goes to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he reveals his dilemma. And he says, my Lord, I'm sinful, I'm fallen. I cannot follow that instruction. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with Murari Gupta and revealed to Murari Gupta who Lord Chaitanya is by showing him, I'm Lord Ram, and actually see, Murari, who you are. Murari looks at him and says, oh, I'm Hanuman. See? And Lord Chaitanya was very happy with him because his heart was sold out to Lord Ram. Therefore, the Lord was testing him. So it's not like they consider, oh, I need to serve Krishna, I need to go to Goloka Vrindavan. No. Hanuman will not go anywhere where Lord Ram is not. That's his perfection. And that's the nature of relationship. Prabhupada is going to bring this point up. Remember, we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna in one of the different forms. So it's not that the devotees think that they got a higher position than me. No. As long as I'm serving the Lord in my relationship, that is the perfection. Okay? That is perfection. And your other point was?
Is it possible to serve other incarnations?
So when you serve Krishna, or when you serve Lord Ramachandra, you serve Lord Nishingadev, you serve all incarnations automatically. Don't need to separately serve them. Yeah, just by serving Krishna, you serve all incarnations. Prabhupada gave the example of, if you pour water on the root, all the branches, twigs, leaves, everything get fulfilled. So just by serving Krishna, all incarnations are satisfied. If you try to please each one, just like the demigods, people do demigod worship. So they worship Surya, they worship Chandra, they worship Ganesh, they worship these different demigods. There's 330 million demigods. Why are you only worshipping few? What about the rest? So you need to serve all of them. But you can't serve all of them. The best way to serve all of them is serve Krishna. They'll all get satisfied. You'll be liberated. In 1975 in Mexico City, Bhaktadasi and Hanuman met with Srila Prabhupada because Hanuman wanted to ask Srila Prabhupada about preaching in different zones. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada didn't really appreciate this aspect of zoning because Prabhupada wanted everyone to preach everywhere. Preaching is not really restricted. So this discussion was going on. And then during the discussion went on a tangent. And it went to a question about liberation. And the question was, when will everybody get liberated? So that's Srila Prabhupada, about when will people get liberation? And Prabhupada turned to Bhaktadasi and said that Prabhupada said, you will be liberated in one life, in this life. So again, here Prabhupada is giving that blessing, that mercy, that empowerment to his followers, that in one life that liberation can be there. Not because of our practice, not because of our eligibility, but because of his empowerment, because of his mercy, because of his blessing. So So Sanjay, in relation to your question, Prabhupada gives us in this chapter foremost first-class devotees. Out of many kinds of devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the one who is attracted to the original form of the Lord, Krishna in Vrindavan, is considered to be the foremost first-class devotee. Such a devotee is never attracted by the opulence of Vaikuntha or even Dwarka, the royal city where Krishna ruled. The conclusion of Srila Rupa Goswami is that the devotees who are attracted by the pastimes of the Lord in Gokula or Vrindavan are the topmost devotees. A devotee who is attached to a particular form of the Lord does not wish to redirect his devotion to other forms. For example, Hanuman, the devotee Lord Ramachandra, knew that there is no difference between Lord Ramachandra and Lord Narayan, yet he still wanted to render service only unto Lord Ramachandra. That is due to the specific attraction of a particular devotee. There are many, many forms of the Lord, but Krishna is still the original form. Though all of the devotees of the different forms of the Lord are in the same category, still it is said that those who are devotees of Lord Krishna are the topmost in the list of devotees. Why? Because the relationship is more intimate. Okay. There is greater and more intimate rasa or relationship or mellow with Krishna in Vrindavan, especially with the gopis. Therefore, it is the highest. But yet they're all liberated. They're all free from the bodily concept of life. They're all in the spiritual world. They're all pleasing Krishna. And it's not that one devotee thinks I'm better than you. No. But from a philosophical understanding, we are given this truth, this tattva, that there's gradations of levels in the spiritual world, and therefore there's gradations of devotees in the spiritual world. Just like it's explained, Mathura is perfect. Dwarka is more perfect. And Vrindavan is most perfect. See? So, an act of instruction then says also in Vrindavan, there's different levels of perfection, of sweetness. So this is the spiritual world. It's very gated, but still of all the devotees in Vrindavan are the topmost. One aspect is that Hanuman would still do certain things that is in line with what's right and what's wrong. For example, Hanuman will not take the dust from his feet and put on Lord Ramachandra to cure his headache. He will rather go find a herb in a mountain or bring a mountain with the herbs and get an Ayurvedic doctor to make the herbs to give it to administer to cure Lord Ramachandra's headache. And to prove that the gopis were the highest, Lord Krishna told Narad Muni, I got a headache, please help. And Narad Muni said, what can solve your headache? And the Lord said, only the dust from the feet of my devotees. So Narad Muni goes. And no matter who he approaches, they all give some intellectual answer, some philosophical answer. How can we put our dust on the Lord's head? That's an offense. We should be taking the dust from the Lord's feet on our head. You know what will happen if we put our dust on the Lord's head? We'll go to hell. We want to be liberated. We don't want to go to hell. So everyone was giving arguments. Finally, Narad Muni comes to the gopis. Oh, Narad, have you seen Krishna? Oh, yes, he's got a headache. Oh, what can we do to relieve his headache? Need dust from your feet. Oh, sure, they mess their feet with dust. Please take as much as you can. And Narad Muni said, wait, y'all are simple coward girls. Y'all don't know about tattva, truth, about philosophical understanding. Let me tell you something. If we take this dust and put on Krishna's head, you know where you're going? You're going hell eternally. And what they said? No problem. if our going to hell eternally will relieve Krishna of his headache, and so be it. See, they're not interested about their welfare. Their interest is Krishna pleased? That is the sum and substance. And that is why they classified as the highest devotees. There is no self-interest at all. Completely dedicated to pleasing Krishna in the highest rasas, highest level of relationship. So now we come to chapter 5, the purity of devotional service. And this chapter is emphasizing that bhakti is independent. Bhakti is not dependent on any factors, whatever factors you may think about. It's not dependent on any of the factors. And in this chapter, different factors will be revealed. The execution and perfection of devotional service is not dependent on any material consideration. The execution and perfection of devotional service is not dependent on any material consideration. Oh, Prabhu, I'm so poor, I can't become a pure devotee. Prabhu, I don't have any friends, I can't become a pure devotee. I have a very bad memory, I can't become a pure devotee. No. The execution and the perfection of devotional service is not dependent on any material situation, consideration. That means there is no material disqualification to become a pure devotee, to become engaged in pure devotional service. Every other process of self-realization, however, is dependent on external circumstances. For example, Jnana Yoga requires a peaceful, renounced disposition and highly developed intellect. If you don't have that, don't endeavor for Jnana Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga demands many rigid prerequisites, not only that only a sannyasi can ever begin to adopt. Right? Ashtanga Yoga, especially the eightfold process of Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs. Nowadays, they just take the Hatha Yoga section to become healthy. But actually, Ashtanga Yoga is very rigid, has many prerequisites. Karma Kanda is also dependent on external circumstances. A yajna cannot be successful unless the time, place, and ingredients are flawless. So for other processes, there are prerequisites. It's not like you can cut corners and say, okay, it's okay, don't worry. Nope. If you find even the mantras that have to be chanted, has to be chanted perfectly. Pronounced incorrectly, wrong result. You're going to get a converse results. So very, very rigid. Only Bhakti Yoga is completely pure, free from any dependence on external prerequisites. So whether you're peaceful, not, whether you renounce or not, highly intellect or not, you're a sannyasi or not, you have the proper time, place, and circumstance, ingredients, doesn't matter. There is no material consideration for one to practice pure devotional service. So that implies there should be no excuses. Because every excuse is based on a circumstance, based on some scenario, based on I don't have this, I can't do this because of this. Nope. There can be no excuses. It's truly universal, not dependent on birth. Rupa Goswami states that devotional service is transcendental to all material considerations and that is not limited to any particular country, class, society, or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cause. It has no cause, no material cause. It does have a spiritual cause, bhakti itself. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain, and it cannot be checked by any material circumstance. So now, there is no material circumstance for you to practice devotional service. So there is no excuse to practice, and nothing material can even check it. And I give the example, consider if they have to press the nuclear bomb button to release the nuclear bomb. So America releases the nuclear bomb. And if America releases nuclear bomb, who's going to release the next nuclear bomb? China, and then Russia, and then India, then Indonesia, right? Somebody's going to, everybody's going to release an atom bomb. So they release that nuclear bomb, hundreds of them in the air, okay? And then you see all these nuclear weapons going to explode. And let's say it explodes, but you survive. Now, you're the only one survives. If you know what nuclear weapons do, because of the power, it's the force, the impact blows with the heat. So it's like the most hottest air you can get. And the air is so hot that that air is like hot molten that just flies. And what's going to do? It'll just disintegrate everything. And it goes for miles. So hundreds of them explode. Now you get up. And you look around. And what do you see? Toast. Nothing. But if you got your bead bag, you can still chant Hare Krishna. And even if you don't have it, you can still chant Hare Krishna. So even a war cannot stop you from practicing devotional service. Nothing can stop you. There's only one thing that can stop you from devotional service. You. That's all. You, the culprit. You are your biggest enemy. And who do you listen to? Your mind. Therefore, your mind is your biggest enemy. And that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you control your mind, super soul is already reached. And if you control your mind, he's your best friend. An uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy. Because the uncontrolled mind will tell you, oh yeah, you can't practice, you can't do this because X, Y, and Z. But here it's very clear. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain, and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all, without any distinction, and it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities. So Srila Prabhupada in this chapter talks about how the caste Goswamis, coming after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world, Nityananda Vamsis, they considered that we the only ones qualified to practice this devotional practice. Anyone that's not born within our line, within this caste, cannot practice devotional service. So this was there. Srila Bhakti Maharaj had to fight it. And Rupa Goswami is making very clear, it doesn't matter where you are born. You could be born in any part of the universe, any part of creation, in any species, doesn't make a difference. Every living entity is qualified to practice devotional service. It is not according to birthright. Properly initiated. Very beautiful. Prabhupada makes a point here. A bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of authorities. Very interesting. A bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of authorities. Prabhupada doesn't say a bona fide spiritual master can turn anyone to a Vaishnav cult so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of a Brahmana. Prabhupada adds something in between that sentence. Prabhupada says bona fide spiritual master under the guidance of authorities can turn anyone to a Vaishnav cult so that naturally he may come to the topmost position of a Brahmana. That means a spiritual master is not independent. A spiritual master is not a lone ranger. He's not a hero on his own. He's not an island on his own. No, a guru is only a guru because he's a perfect disciple. And he's coming in line of authorities. And he's pleasing those authorities. They give him the empowerment to do what he's able to do, not on his own. Srila Rupa Goswami warns, however, that if a person is properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by the acceptance of such initiation, his business is then finished. It only started. You just have initiated the idea of surrender. You haven't even journeyed. You just started. It's good to start. But don't think that start is the end. One still has to follow the rules and regulations. How? Very carefully. See, Prabhupada chooses his words very carefully. He could have easily end the sentence, right? One still has to follow rules and regulations, full stop. But no. Prabhupada places the proper appropriate adjectives. One still has to follow rules and regulations very carefully. Not just carefully, very carefully. If after accepting the spiritual master and being initiated, one does not follow the rules and regulations of devotional service, then he is again fallen. One must be very vigilant to remember that he is the part and parcel of the transcendental body of Krishna, and that it is his duty as part and parcel to give service to the whole or Krishna. If we do not remember service to Krishna, if we do not render service to Krishna, then again we fall down. So just initiated, now I'm initiated, see you until next festival, until the Guru comes, Hare Krishna. There is not initiation. One has to be initiated and one has to render service. In other words, simply becoming initiated does not elevate one to the position of a high-class Brahmana. What to talk about a devotee, a Vaishnava, because a Vaishnava is greater than a Brahmana. So it doesn't even bring you to a Brahman level. One has to discharge the duties and follow the regulated principles very rigidly. So Prabhupada is warning us that if you take to this process, become initiated, don't become whimsical in one's practice. One should be serious, one should be sincere, and one should follow very, very nicely. So during one of the first initiations in the early days, Mother Govinda Dasi says, during my initiation, she was an artist also. So during my initiations, I saw him put colored dye down and build a fire. And I thought, what is the depth of meaning to this? What is really going on? I didn't have any background information because there was no books. Prabhupada only had his three-part Bhagavatams. There was no other books. I had some misgivings during my initiation. So afterwards, I went upstairs to visit Srila Prabhupada, and I told him that I didn't feel liberated. I thought that when I got initiation, by golly, it was like going to be immediate nirvana. Right? So I got initiated, it's supposed to be like I'm now liberated. Something far out had to happen. So that was their understanding. So she goes and she reveals this to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada's reply. Prabhupada was very patient and he said, just see the fan over there. As there was a fan in the corner. If I unplug it, it may spin a few times, more times. But because it has been unplugged, it will eventually stop. So it's like that. Although your material life may not cease immediately, because it has been unplugged, it will spin a few more times, but just follow the process as I've told you. So Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. As soon as one takes initiation, as soon as one surrenders to Krishna, then that's like the plug of karma being pulled out. And yes, the fan won't stop immediately. It'll spin for some time, but it's slowing down. So we just have to continue. And continue, as Prabhupada says, follow the process as I've told you. Do as Prabhupada is given, has told us, according to his instructions and books. And if we simply do that, then the process will take care of itself. See, the acharyas, the pure devotee, they have already pulled the plug. The process devotionals have already pulled the plug. Once the plug's pulled out, that process will automatically stop the fan. You don't need to do anything. Your duty is simply to continue to serve and please Krishna. That's all. Guru and Krishna, nothing else. Process of devotional service so powerful that there's no need for prayaschitta. Prayaschitta means atonement. Although a major prerequisite for other processes of self-realization, purity is not a factor in determining one's eligibility to perform devotional service. It's not you have to be pure to practice devotional service. You only have to have attraction. That's all. Even if a devotee falls down from the standard of purity, he need not undergo any separate process of purification, prayaschitta, such as karma or gyan. He can again take up devotional service immediately and be reinstated. And this is very, very important. We will have missteps on the path of devotional service. Due to material desires, devotees, neophyte devotees, aspiring devotees may do the wrong thing. They may go off on a tangent. It doesn't matter. If you go on a tangent, you just come back and continue to practice the process of devotional service. You don't need to do anything separate. In the Vedas, for every sinful reaction, there's a karma kandya prayaschitta that you'll have to do. Let's say you ate something that you're not supposed to eat. So then you go to the Pandit and tell the Panditji, last week I ate something I'm not supposed to eat. Then he'll ask you what you ate. Then you'll tell him I ate this. He takes his book out, flips through. Oh, you ate this, very bad. Okay. And then he's going to tell you now, go buy 4 cloves, 1 lemon, 1 chili, do this. He's going to give you a process, what you have to do. Fast for 3 days. Look at the eastern side. Then fast for another 2 days. Look at the western side. And then you'll be free from your karmic reaction. As an example. Okay. So they'll give you that. Different prayaschitta. And the prayaschitta also has different levels or intensity. The greater the sin, the greater the prayaschitta. Right? The more heinous the sin, the more severe the prayaschitta. But for every sinful activity, there's prayaschitta. You have to do, otherwise you cannot advance. With devotional service, you may do something that's against the practice of bhakti or devotional service. It doesn't matter. It does not disqualify you from continuing to serve Krishna. In fact, by you just continuing to serve Krishna, that is itself prayaschitta. Nobody's disqualified. Now, if somebody is in a managerial position, a leadership position, and if you do something wrong, let's say you're a Namahata leader, and you have an affair with someone else, one of the congregation girls, then because you're in a position of leadership as a Namahata leader, your prayaschitta is also just to continue serving. But because it's an institution and you want to set the proper example, then the management may say you need to step down from leadership and you can't be a Namahata leader, but you can come and wash the pots in the temple and do devotional service. That is perfect because you're setting an example that leaders can't just do anything. and just continue still serving that position. No, because then it's a bad example. But that doesn't mean that's that you require prayaschita. The prayaschita, the atonement for any fall down, is devotional service itself, because there is no need for prayaschita if you want to practice devotional service. Yes, question.
So wouldn't the advantage of that after initiation, take 4 vows, and then one can say, I can break a vow, and then surely there's some.
Correct. So if you do that, that is totally detrimental. So the question is, if I understand this, that I don't need prayaschita if I do something wrong, that's brilliant. So I'll get initiated, I'll do something wrong, and I just carry on devotional service. In one room conversation, the 7th offense to the holy name, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So in a conversation with Srila Prabhupada in his room, one devotee started asking the question, Srila Prabhupada, what if one commits an offense, one commits a sinful activity on the strength of chanting? Prabhupada stopped him right there. See, the fact that you're thinking like that means you want to do it. You shouldn't even be thinking like that. That what if I do that? No, that if shouldn't even come there, because that offense, it's explained, the 7th offense. If you commit the 7th offense, even if you go to Yamaraja's planet, you'll not be redeemed. Yeah, it's a very grave offense. Okay, so I'll just break the principles and I'll chant one additional round. Yeah, it's totally detrimental to one's spiritual life. You will never make advancement with that mentality. Yes, Srila Prabhupada's mercy is unlimited, but having that mentality is detrimental to one's bhakti. So we should never say, I'll do something wrong and I'll catch up. I should understand that due to my nature, I may fall prey unintentionally to a sinful habit, to a sinful activity, but I'll know if it's intentional or not by the fact that I repent. If I'm repentant, then I know that it was unintentional. It was the force of material desires. See, and I'll repent and I'll say, no, I need to become more serious. I'll need to, really chant nicely. I need to overcome this material desires. So that repentance, that fire of repentance burns the sinful reactions away. But to think that I can sin and try to repair myself or chant Hare Krishna additional rounds or do more service, there is no redemption for that. Yeah? Prabhupada gives the example of the Christians. They go to the, they confess, then, okay, you're freed from your sins. Next week, they do the same thing. Then they confess again. That, you can never be redeemed with that mentality. Yeah. So we should be very careful of the 7th offense. That offense is also related to the 10th offense. To maintain material attachments, even understanding so many instructions on this matter. So I know it's wrong, but I don't want to give it up. And I understand it's wrong. See? So that's why we said, you're the only obstacle. We really need to become convinced. What is good for me? What's the best for me? And the best for me is to give up all my anarthas, to become purified. That's why we should love. We should become insanely attached to becoming purified. I should love to be purified. Even if that purification means I need to go to my karma and get burnt a little, I should be happy with that. That, Krishna, thank you for putting me in this fire of ordeal. I reduced my karma, I got purified. I'm happy because the more I get purified, I'm getting closer to becoming liberated from anarthas. And liberation from the bodily concept of life, anarthas, means I'm going beyond anartha nivriti to awaken my attachments to Krishna. So I'm really moving in the right direction, which is ecstatic, which is wonderful. Is that okay? So no prayaschita. And in fact, Srila Prabhupada, in so many instances, we're going to hear about Kirtananda. Hayagriva and Kirtananda, they left the temple. And in fact, they were even talking bad about Srila Prabhupada's movement and different things. Then one day, Prabhupada was busy in the temple, and they came back into the temple. And Prabhupada asked the servant to get his Brahman thread from his room. Prabhupada brought the Brahman thread and gave it to Hayagriva, initiated him. On the spot, didn't even ask them what they did wrong, where they went. Just got them back into the process. See? So in so many cases, Prabhupada would do that. Somebody would steal. There was another devotee, he stole money from Prabhupada. Then he came and he said, "You're very sorry." And Prabhupada said, "No problem, you continue." And Prabhupada kept him in the same managerial position. Because Prabhupada understood that there is no prashchitta. The fact that the soul wants to continue serving, that itself is prashchitta, the most perfect prashchitta. And if he's sincere, he'll overcome all his anarthas. Yes, there was one person, he was impersonating another devotee, Achyutananda, and he was collecting in the name of Achyutananda. So the devotees caught him, and they brought him to Srila Prabhupada. And they were telling Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, we want to hand him to the police." And this person, he fell at Prabhupada's feet, and he said, "I'm very sorry, please accept me." And the police also came there. And Prabhupada said, if anybody falls at my feet, wants my protection, I have to give them my protection. So don't take him. I'll give him protection. And then Prabhupada said, "But you have to come for the morning program, you have to follow the program, you have to do everything. And if you don't, then we're going to hand you back to the police." So the person, was attending the program, doing things, and eventually one day he took his knapsack and he was about to scale the fence and run away. And Brahmananda and him caught him. Brought him to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was trying to run away. And then Prabhupada said, "We gave you a chance." And hand him to the police. So you can get a chance, no doubt. But if you abuse the opportunity, then you have to get the consequence. But the glorious thing is, even if you make a mistake while on this path, you fall down, you slip, don't despair. All you have to do is stand up. That's all. Get up and continue. See, it's like a child, right? The child tries to walk and falls. What should a child do? Try again. Stand up and The only time a child will fail to walk is if the child fails to get up. As long as a child does not fail to get up, it'll always learn to walk. It'll always be successful in walking. So on the path of devotional service, the only time you will fail, if you fall down, is if you don't get up. And you should get up with greater determination to say, "I want to continue on this path, and I want to be serious, and I want to be steadfast." And in this way, one will succeed. Varnashram Dharma, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17, Narad Muni says, "Even if one does not execute his specific occupational duty, but immediately takes direct shelter of the lotus feet of Hari Krishna, there will be no fault on his path, and in all circumstances, his position is secure." So it doesn't matter whether you're Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, whether you perform your duties properly, improperly, doesn't make a difference. Pure devotional service is not dependent on Varna and Ashram. What Varna you are, what Ashram you are you practicing nicely, dutifully? No. Dutifully or not, if you surrender to Krishna, that is perfection. And Krishna will protect you from all shortcomings. Naturally, a devotee is responsible, because by that responsibility, by being responsible, he also encourages and helps everyone, inspires everyone. But at the same time, it is not based on the fact that you have to be a good brahmachari, a good grihastha, etc., according to your varnashram. Nope. If you simply serve Krishna, that is the perfection. It's described, even if you perform all the duties of varna and ashram perfectly, and you don't surrender to Krishna, that's a failure. Surrender to Krishna is the perfection of one's life. The conclusion of these 2 chapters is simply inspirational. It's to inspire us of the glory, the power, the potency, and the good fortune we have to be able to render pure devotional service, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and his instructions, simply so that we can achieve in this line of Lord Chaitanya the service of Srimati Radharani. That is our goal, that is our desire. Because all our acharyas in our line are servants of Srimati Radharani, who is the dearmost servant of Krishna. So we want to become her maid servant. And Bhakti Yoga is totally independent and self-sufficient. No material impediment should discourage one on the path of surrender. So really there is absolutely no excuse to follow the process given by Srila Prabhupada, which they have so deep, in such amazing detail. They are laying down the foundation, giving us the blueprint, revealing all the glories and the potency and the power of this practice of devotional service. And simply by following these instructions, we can achieve the greatest desire and need of the living entity, pure devotional service. In conclusion, in 1974, Srila Prabhupada decided to see the new movie that Mother Vishaka and Yadubar Prabhu made called Spiritual Frontier. I posted that video on the group about New Vrindavan. And Kirtananda Swami flew out to look at that movie with Srila Prabhupada. It's a beautiful farm project. So Prabhupada was there in the temple room. All the devotees were there. And they started to show the movie. And the movie went very nicely showing this project. And it came just after about halfway through the movie, where Prabhupada looked at the devotees was cooking, frying puris. So there was a close-up. The devotee was throwing the puris in the wok and puffed up like this. So when Prabhupada saw that, he turned to Tamal Krishna Maharaj and he said, "I want one of those puris." And then the movie continued, and the movie came to the end. All the devotees were there. Kirtananda Swami was there. And Srila Prabhupada looked at Kirtananda Swami, who was on his left-hand side, made his hand like this in a blessing mudra, and blessed him. And he said, "I bless you. He said, I bless Kirtananda Swami will go back to Godhead this lifetime." So the devotees, they, "Jai Srila Prabhupada." So Prabhupada was very pleased with him in terms of what he had done. Then, understanding Srila Prabhupada's magnanimity, or Srila Prabhupada's heart is so amazing, so wonderful, he's so compassionate. Prabhupada said, "What Kirtananda?" Then he took his hand and he went from one end to the temple and he said, "I bless you all." Went through right to the end. Even the devotee on this side was waiting. "I bless you all, you go back to Godhead." And they all said, "Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai." So this is Srila Prabhupada's magnanimity, his compassionate heart. It's unbelievable how compassionate Srila Prabhupada is. It's impossible to go back to Godhead in one lifetime. It's just not, it's not achievable without blessing, without grace. And Srila Prabhupada is giving that mercy. So we have that mercy by Srila Prabhupada's blessings. And all we need to do is follow his instructions to serve him in his mission, to follow the principles he have given us so that we can achieve this path of pure devotional service. And that is our inspiration. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Question. When you were speaking of when you're in Gokula or Vrindavan, spiritual world, the rasa of gopis, that they are the like most important. But I wanted to know, like, here, is a male body more superior than a female body? And is it, if you want to do your devotional work, is it better to be in a male body?
So on the material plane, whether one is a male, remember we're already covering, right? So there is no material qualification. Whether one is a male or female, you'll be able to practice better or not be able to practice better. No. So whether one is a male or female, doesn't matter. Anyone can practice devotional service. Sometimes people ask that, okay, what if I'm confused? I don't know if I'm male or female, right? I'm in between or I'm out between, right? I don't know where I am. Okay, it doesn't matter, because in the material world, whether you are male, you are diseased. Whether you're female, you're diseased. Or whether you don't know whether you're male or female, you're diseased. Right? Everyone is diseased because everyone is thinking I'm male or female, I'm this body. So whether you know your gender, whether you don't know your gender, you're thinking of this body, you are diseased. And you need to overcome that disease by the practice of devotional service. So anyone can practice devotional service. Whether I'm married, not married, male, female, or don't know who I am, my gender, sex life need to become 0. Okay? Prabhupada says sex life need to be zeroed, because the only goal should be to please Krishna, not one's senses. And it's a gradual process, but that's the objective. So material, doesn't matter what the qualification is. Therefore, it's not that a male form is higher than a female, or female form is higher than a male form in the material world. No. In the spiritual world, it's not like the gopis have a female form. Nobody has a material form in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the spirit is form. So all the forms are spiritual. Okay? And it's just the rasa that is different. So the cows have a different rasa, the friends have a different rasa, the servants have a different rasa, the Mother Yashoda and the parents have a different rasa, and the gopis have a different rasa. And each rasa is higher than the other. So the rasa is different, but they're all serving Krishna. So Mother Yashoda is also spotlessly with pure devotion serving Krishna. The coward friends are also spotlessly with pure devotion serving Krishna. And so are the gopis. It's just that the elevation or the levels of rasa is higher because there's more intimacy. And our aspiration is to be a servant of Radharani. That is our aspiration. Whatever our service is, that's up to Prabhupada and Krishna. And the beauty is, we may be a tree in the spiritual world. And that is glorious. I'll be perfect in that service as a tree, as a Kalpavriksha tree. And if Prabhupada and Krishna decides, okay, we can also be a gopi, no problem. Because one can have multiple forms in the spiritual world. We're not restricted. There's no restriction. One can have unlimited forms in the spiritual world, according to Krishna's desire. Just like Prabhupada, wherever Lord Chaitanya is, Prabhupada is there. The servants are there. They can expand. There's no restriction. But again, it's our desire. Our desire is not, I want to be. No, I want this. No, our desire simply should be whatever you want, my Lord. See? And whatever Prabhupada is giving us as a prayer, to offer that prayer. Therefore, we pray to Tulsi Devi, please make me your maidservant. Now, why are we praying to Tulsi Devi like that? Because Prabhupada is giving us the prayer to pray. See, he's giving us that empowerment. He's giving us that blessing. Because we can only achieve that level through that blessing of the pure devotee, not on our own. Yeah. So there is no high or low. in that sense. Yeah, everybody has a equal qualification to achieve the highest levels of devotion that Krishna so desire. Any other questions?
Devotees from Devon, Florida, saying
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Then Nityananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, how can one identify the difference between actual devotional service and self-interest service and dovetailing services?
How can you identify between actual devotional service and devotional service that may be motivated or your interest may be there? And that is why you need, in Prabhupada's case, because Prabhupada was present, he was able to see through one's motive, and he was able to reciprocate with that motive and even chastise that motive. You'll find many devotees sharing, they're on a morning walk and they want to show off. They know so many things or they know so many verses and they want to ask that I'll ask Prabhupada a question because it'll show I'm very intelligent. And Prabhupada sees right through them. So in our case also, if we serve with advanced devotees, then that association, that advanced association, in that advanced association, it will be revealed that our motive is not clear. If your motive is tainted, you will not get the desired result. Okay? There'll always be an obstacle. So it also requires introspection. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, every Ekadasi, we should be introspective. We should see, what is my motive? And ultimately, you know your motive. Now, if you know your motive, that it's wrong, do you think Krishna knows it? Naturally, better than you. So therefore, you're not going to get the desired result. There's going to be an obstacle. You're going to be stagnant. There's going to be something. So we want to purify that. Now, sometimes what happens is, we call it dovetailing. So I have a desire to dance. So I'm going to dovetail my dancing in the service of Krishna. In this verse that Srila Rupa Goswami gives, which Prabhupada and the Acharyas quote, Yukta Vairagya, to engage, dovetail all of one's activities in service Krishna, there it's mentioned very clearly, you can only engage in Yukta Vairagya if you're detached from that activity. It's not like I'm attached to an activity and therefore I dovetail it. The danger of that dovetailing is you will become attached to that activity more and focus more on that activity which you're trying to dovetail in Krishna's service and forget about Krishna's service. That is why we're going to come to chapter 6 from following week, not next week, because next week we'll be in Durban doing the Grihastha course. When we come to chapter 6, we'll see that pure devotional service, how is it practiced? And in many purports, Prabhupada says it has to be practiced under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Cannot be practiced in isolation. Okay, I think I can dovetail. Like, for example, I love yoga. And, I was brought up as a yogi, my parents were yogis, and I like to do yoga, and it keeps me healthy. Very good. Do you need yoga to practice pure devotional service? No. Okay. Is it beneficial for your health? Yes. Okay. Do you need good health to achieve pure devotional service? No. Because there is no prerequisite. These two chapters have already made it very clear. There is no material qualification required. Health, no health. You can achieve Krishna consciousness, remembering Krishna. So, someone is a yogi. Great. He's got tendencies. Very good. Now he's going to say, okay, I'm going to set up a yoga studio and I'll invite the youngsters, the youth to come and I'll teach them yoga. Okay. And I'm a brahmachari. I didn't get married, but I like to do so. So I'm going to set up a yoga studio and I'm going to invite, the youth. So which youth are going to come? Male and female. Now I'm going to teach them yoga, right? Slowly I'm going to be distracted from yoga to the yogini. And before I know it, I got married to the yogini. because I am not detached from that activity. So I'm going to become more and more attached. And you cannot fool Bhakti Devi. You cannot fool Krishna. If you play with fire, guess what? No surprise, right? You're going to get burnt. It's not going to be cool. It's not going to be cool. Prabhupada says, like the people, they're lighting fire and they want to stay cool. No, you can't light fire and stay cool. You can't put your hand in fire and stay cool. You're going to get burnt. So one has to be very careful how he dovetails. And that's why it's best to dovetail under the direction of the advice of the pure devotee. And I'll give you two examples. One devotee went to Srila Prabhupada. He was an astrologer. And he told Srila Prabhupada, I'd like to do astrology for Krishna. Prabhupada said, forget idea. Another devotee went to Srila Prabhupada, I'm an astrologer, I'd like to do astrology for Krishna. Okay, go ahead. So why two advice? The same request, two different advice. Because of the individual. It wasn't the question of astrology. It was a question of your attachment. One will be dangerous for you, the other one will be good for you. Okay. So it has to be judged according to the individual, and therefore one should be very careful. Ultimately, whether one is attached, detached, have material desires, no material desires, if an activity can increase our remembrance and attachment to Krishna, we should embrace that. We want to increase our attachment to Krishna. We want to increase our affection to Krishna. We want to increase our attraction to Krishna. If any activity can increase that, we should embrace that wholeheartedly. If any activity is dampening that, distracting that, minimizing that, we should have the red lights to go on, and we should move away and reveal our mind to someone who's more advanced, that I'm having this difficulty, please help me. Otherwise, it can become an anchor, and we can waste unnecessary time on this path.
Since Bhakti Devi is independent to enter the devotee's heart and give the benediction of Bhakti, and Krishna only accepts our Bhakti, are we dependent on Bhakti Devi to please Krishna?
100%. You are totally dependent on Bhakti Devi to please Krishna, because Krishna is not pleased by anything but Bhakti Devi. As we go through the chapters, this will be revealed, that we are totally dependent on Bhakti Devi, we are totally dependent on Srimati Radhavani, and we need her mercy. And that is why Srila Prabhupada in a lecture said that we want Srimati Radhavani's mercy. Because even if you are rascal number one, Prabhupada in the lecture says that Srimati Radhavani will go to Krishna and say, Krishna, I know he's a rascal, but please accept him. And Krishna cannot reject Radhavani's request. And Krishna will say, okay, and immediately you become non-rascal just by that. So yes, we are totally dependent on Bhakti Devi.
Regarding the site properly initiated, can a bhakta receive Bhakti Devi's mercy by still following instructions of the Acharya? Yes, that's how.
Definitely.
Everyone starts it.
Every bhakta, every neophyte can receive the mercy of Bhakti Devi by following the Acharya. That's the process. By following Srila Prabhupada, observing his instructions. Like we mentioned, reason we study Nectar devotion is not because we want to become scholarly. No, because Prabhupada says, please study. So whatever instruction Prabhupada gave us, if we observe that, then that will open up the doors to greater and greater mercy. And it doesn't matter whether one is neophyte or not. Anyone who follows and pleases Prabhupada gets mercy. That's how the neophyte advances.
What is the prayaschitta for causing Vaishnava?
Prayaschitta for causing Vaishnava aparad is to beg forgiveness. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Harinam Chintamani describes that you can only be redeemed from Vaishnava aparad is if you fall at the feet of that devotee who you have offended and repent bitterly. Until that devotee forgives you, you will be redeemed. If you don't get redemption, or if the devotee does not forgive you, you will not be redeemed. And we showed you the chart that Vaishnava Parad is the only obstacle that survives through anartha nivriti, right up to the stage of bhava. And you can fall even if you at the door of pure love of Krishna because of Vaishnava Aparad. Therefore, we have to be very, very careful of offending devotees, whether they new, whether they're old, whether they're seasoned, whether they fit, whether they're unfit, whether they black, white, doesn't matter who. We should be very, very careful of not offending any devotee, because every devotee is dear to Krishna. Therefore, this aspect of Vaishnava Parad we have to be very, very careful of.
In line of what you're saying, Kirtananda Maharaj got that blessing, and then Prabhupada blessed everybody. But it's interesting how he, after that incident, the route he took, and so many people may raise their eyebrows and say that he was so disqualified.
Correct.
Everything. But it's worthy to remember how the special potency of Srila Prabhupada is so incredible, because Prabhupada knows the past, present, and future of his disciple. So he said, even if you see Bhavananda smoking a cigarette,
You offer obeisances.
offer dandavats.
Yes.
So it's like, and the Bhavananda Prabhu took a different route. So it's incredible how the speciality of mercy that's been mentioned in all of these pages that we've read in the Nectar devotion is emphasizing the pure, getting the mercy of a pure devotee, how essential that is for progress.
Yeah.
And in our case, like Srila Prabhupada's blessings are like so beyond our
comprehension. Yeah, it's amazing. And even though, and we should be, like, so even with Kirtananda, etc., what they did and their reaction, that's up to Prabhupada and Krishna. Just like a child, the mother will love the child when the child is nice, and even if the child kicks the mother, the mother doesn't take it seriously. So like that, the pure devotee, Prabhupada as the grandfather or the father, spiritual father, he may not take it seriously because he knows the struggle they went through. He knows the sacrifice that they actually rendered. And therefore, he will always remember that. And like Krishna with Putna, even though Putna came to kill Krishna, Krishna still liberated Putna. She didn't even chant Hare Krishna. She came to kill Krishna, and Krishna gave her position of a nurse. So like that, Prabhupada also, his magnanimity and his devotion and compassion is unparalleled. And therefore, we should always remember that, meditate on that, and try to keep steadfast on the path of bhakti. All right, we'll stop there. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Take care.